Good afternoon to all of you, and also our Honourable Distinguished Minister of Science and Technology, who has not only been leading from the front, but also has been having a deep insight into what science and technology requires, or the growth of science and technology requires in the country. Also, all the distinguished guests, colleagues, innovators, founders, and all those who have an interest in innovation, incubation, and entrepreneurship who have gathered here today. IIM Ahmedabad formed this journey in what we call today the Viksit Bharat. Our Honourable Prime Minister has set an agenda that by 2047 we need to become a Viksit Bharat. We have been a little contributor for a long period of time, but our little contributions have added over a period of time to a great deal, which is visible today by various startup, various founder network people which you have seen here in this gathering today. We have been starting this journey from 2002 with a small idea of incubation happening in this IIM Ahmedabad ecosystem. But then today it has grown to a full potential, and you see a significant part of our campus and a prominent part of this campus is occupied by what we call the IIMA Ventures. Our journey started as a Center for Incubation, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Over a period, as our character changed, because character changed not only from incubation and acceleration, which most of the incubators are doing today, or other institutes are also doing today, we created a continuum where the journey starts from the idea, taken forward to the seed stage, also the funding stage, and also to the go-to-market strategy where they are ready to fly on their own. And that's why we said, since we are creating from end to end a complete ecosystem, we renamed it in only 2023 to IIMA Ventures, where you can start your journey, complete your journey, and be ready to fly and be part of the greater part of the economy. IIM Ahmedabad has been contributing through our IIMA Ventures to many great ventures which have not only created a great deal of employment, but also solved many of the technology related, deep technology related, climate technology related problems of this country. Our some of those incubatees companies which you see, and I think some of you had the opportunity to see the peer site, which is amongst the latest one, and then prior we have been the one who have been seeded the Agnikul, which is much talked about today as a launch vehicle business. The IIM Ahmedabad leverages on technology of others. Being a management institute, we realized there's a fundamental difference that technology institutes and science institutions and science laboratories are able to create great ideas. We have no shortage of talent in this country. Given any challenge, they are able to come up with a scientific solution or a technological solution to the problem. But our problem has always been of science laboratories and technology institutes was ability to translate into go-to-market strategy, ability to convert into a successful business. And that's where we realized that we have been serving the corporate sector for so long, from 1960s onward. So somewhere in late 90s and early 2000, we got the idea, why should we not be pitching in and converting these sizzling ideas which are coming out of the laboratories and coming out of various IITs and other technological institutes, and convert them and create a businesses out of them. That journey started in 2002 and it has really culminated. So we also realize that we are not a technology creator, we are not the basic, we are a commerce idea creator, but we are not a technology and scientific laboratory idea creator. But we know how to convert that idea into a pleasing and scalable business. That's why leverage upon that specialty of ours, where we source the ideas from multiple places, and over a period we have sourced, I don't know, more than hundreds of thousands of ideas. But out of that 3,000 ideas, or approximately 3,000 ideas, about 27 ideas we have incubated here, and vast majority of them have become successful companies today, contributing to the economy, contributing to the job job scenario of this country in multiple ways. One of the unique aspects which is started in this IIMA ventures of ours was also creation of a venture fund within the ecosystem, meaning that we are not only incubated other ideas, we also started incubating the venture funds itself, so that the ideas which are actually coming to a certain stage and when they require a true funding, they are on the same platform or same under the same roof. They can interact with each other and take the business forward and take the success story forward. In this domain, we have created 3 major funds for the climate technology, for the inclusion fund, and as well as what we call the Bharat Innovation Fund, which has been one of our largest funds, our greatest funds, incubated out of and running out of IIMA Ventures as of now. I think we realize right now there's a need to bring multiple technology platforms and business platforms into one common framework, and that is where there's a need for something of a translational endeavor, where we can take the ideas rather than sourcing individually and trying to spot the ideas. Can we create a platform where all these technology ideas can also come on the same platform, and business incubator like ours can also be part of the same journey, so can be the venture capital funds, etc., and so on. So in a single platform, you can take the idea and carry out and have the conversation in the whole network, where the idea has a higher chance of succeed. Also, there's a lesser chance of any great idea getting lost because it was not able to find the right platform at that point of time. Because this is also important, because you have noticed that today tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also becoming major part of incubation and idea creation. 51% or more than 50% of the companies actually are coming out of a tier 2 and tier 3 incubation centers, and ideas are coming out of those cities and technology institutes of those cities. It is high time that we are also able to reach out to them and support them. So in this context, I would like to once again welcome you all that you have come here, and our Honourable Minister who could spare time for us so that we can listen to what this nation has planned for us, what the government schemes are, and how we can have the private sector, the educational institutes supported by the government or government-led institutions, and the government itself can come on the same platform, and we can take this journey of Viksit Bharat forward. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bhasker, for that inspiring address and for always being the wind beneath our wings. May I now request the Honourable Minister to launch Translation Endeavours, our flagship multi-institutional platform constituted to strengthen the bridge between science and entrepreneurship.
India is bursting with breakthrough science, but too often, discoveries stay in the lab and never reach the world.
India needs to significantly improve the translation of science and technology from labs into commercial products in the market.
Indian institutions have a pivotal role to play in this by leveraging the infra, researchers, students, and alumni networks.
IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Madras, BITS Pilani, IIT Gandhinagar, CSIR and NCL affiliated venture center, and many more are coming together to create a common platform to de-risk and increase throughput of deep tech innovations from India. Translation Endeavours and its partner institutions will collaboratively work to create thematic venture funds, venture studios, scientist-entrepreneur matchmaking programs, and accelerators in deep tech areas.
We look forward to together making India an innovation nation. Join us in this mission and our translation endeavors.
Thank you for your kind introduction. In fact, I would have preferred to be brief and rather listen from you and then respond accordingly, so that I can speak what you actually want me to speak instead of making it a monologue. Because when we are talking of translational culture and integrated culture, I think that is what makes more sense. Nevertheless, glad to be here. Thank you very much, Professor Bhasker, the Director, for your very warm welcome and hospitality. Ms. Chopra, who's been there since morning, the CEO of IIM Ahmedabad Ventures, senior members of the faculty, my colleagues from the Department of Science and Technology who accompanied me from Delhi. At the outset, I must confess that I am indeed absolutely delighted to be at one of the most premier institutes of India, and indeed one of the earliest seats of world-class academics in this country. And I remember first time I came here, I was discussing with Dr. Bhasker, was about a quarter century ago. We were about to hold a kind of an international conference in medicine, that in diabetes, and we didn't have a proper or possibly an adequate venue at that time in Ahmedabad. Of course, after Prime Minister Modi came in as Chief Minister, the entire scenario changed. And then we were hunting around, and finally somebody suggested IIM Ahmedabad, and that's how we came here, not as your guests, but as your tenants. So we actually hired the auditorium, and we found very comfortable, and also had a sense of legacy being there for a, I think, 3.5 day meet that was. So I can therefore in a single sentence reasonably sum up saying that this is indeed an institution which caters to intellectual scholarship while at the same time being deeply rooted in its national ethos, which carry the footprints and the legacy of Gandhi, Patel, and now of course, Prime Minister Modi. So you have much to live up to besides just the management. So you have to manage so many things at a time. And I'm glad that it seems to be happening very efficiently. And as was being said, yeah, it's also our privilege to be partner in the kind of work that you are doing, and to have launched the Nidhi Center for Excellence over here today, which has been supported by the Department of Science and Technology. I would not say support, because that would sound a little patronizing. We would say we are partners in this, even though they are going to shell out nearly rupees 40 crore or so. But nevertheless, that is worth the cost, because this is a common responsibility of all of us. As Professor Bhasker was rightly mentioning, that if in the pursuit of Viksit Bharat, each one has to contribute depending upon our capacity and our capabilities, then if the money comes from the source of DST, why not it? So having said that, we are now making a new beginning, because actually India has now gradually, in the last a decade or so, ever since Prime Minister Modi came in, we have graduated from technology adoption to rather technology leadership. And there is no more of incremental progress, incremental growth that we used to seek till a few years ago. It's now more of deep tech driven growth. And we are trying to live up to the strategies followed by the other countries of the world. And therefore, it is also the responsibility of the Department of Science and Technology, like the other departments also, to carry the academics outside the four walls of the institute and to make it wiser. Of course, this favorite phrase which is always used in the scientific fraternity, to carry from lab to lab, I've been hearing for the last 3 decades. But we never strategized it actually. So if you have to actually do it, you have to strategize. And I think one of the major steps of strategizing is to be in the institute which deals with, we started as basically a management institute. So just as technology for its optimum outcomes requires management, otherwise it won't be able to achieve the optimal outcome. Similarly, management also requires technology to achieve the optimal. So much of interdependence is happening now. We used to fondly speak of interdisciplinary research. It's now interdisciplinary strategizing also, both in marketing and management. And it's been my considered view that however lofty or ideal may be a startup project or a theme, if you do not have a good industry backup, you don't have a good management strategy in place, you would not possibly last very long. Because after all, these boys and girls who come to us, whether for incubation or for other support, they are all children of the same society. So after a few months or a few years, when the boy finds one of his peers driving in a BMW, he says, better I do what he's doing instead of spending my time in this far-flung campus. So we have to give him an entire package of sustainability. So the sustainable goals which are most oftenly used most often used in the UN parlays are now holding good over here. So to make it a sustainable venture and to actually make it applicable. And I'm glad that in the last 8-10 years, we have tried to live up to the global benchmarks, followed global strategies, and laid down global benchmarks for us. And from that point of view, IIM Ahmedabad, being one of the oldest institutes of its kind dedicated to the education of IIM, has a larger responsibility and also expectation to take a lead for others to follow. So in the last 10 years, as I said, from fragile 11, we are now number 4. And that entire growth, economic growth, has been technology driven. We are now about 1.75 lakh startups, ranking 3 in the world. But as Professor Bhasker was rightly mentioning, what is not often noticed is, I think out of these 1.75 or so, almost as much as 49.5 or 50% come from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So that also blows out the myth that you have to be hailing from a big metro, because you have a beautiful gadget in your pocket. So that has given a lot of democratization of education, democratization of research, even democratization of opportunities. And that is not applicable only to management, science, research. It's applicable to every sphere of life. In civil services today, we are getting toppers from the remotest villages, remotest towns, because that's also the department I'm dealing with. We are getting girl toppers from some of the, I would not say even tier 2, tier 3 town degree colleges, not having even gone to a coaching center. I asked one of them, I said, you've done a remarkable feat, and she just took out this from her pocket. And she said, sir, 8 months, 14 hours. That is the trick. She was telling me. So if you have the passion, you have the means, which was not so in my case. If somebody, for example, if our guide gave us a thesis subject, first we had to find out which book to refer to. Then the book, they would say, is in British Council Library. If you went there, they would say the consulate in Calcutta has carried it. Wait for 2 months. By the time you received it, it was only underlined by 2 other predecessors. So if you had to highlight, you had to put the third line. So red, black, blue. And the page is also virtually surviving from being torn away. So it's so nice. I think that's one of the beautiful times happening for the growth of the youngsters in the nation as well. In patent filing, we are ranked 6 now, almost 65,000. But what is more important is that more than 55% are resident Indians. So gone is the myth that you have to be abroad to get a patent registered. So they have worked here, grown up here, groomed here, trained here. And we are now 2 lakh publications, ranking 4, and we are going to surpass. I mean, standing in an academic institution, because I have also been a teacher for more than 2 decades before I changed over, because I changed 3-4 hats. So most of the time, even today, the cynic refrain is that, what if 2 lakh publications? You don't have standard publications. But that's because it got fixed in our mind. Today, we live in an evidence-based era. So if you go by the statistics, the calculations which were done in the end of 2024, so the 2025 will still come, showed that the 10% of the most commonly cited references, the commonest citations were from the Indian papers, which was receiving the maximum number of citations. 10 came from India. So you're not far behind, having started late. And therefore, I think it's a very encouraging milieu around. And also that we are now exploring unexplored areas. I was just asking when we were going around the incubation center, I said, have you connected with the space and in space? Because you have, every city has to first decide its priorities depending on the ecosystem that you have around, because that's an easy takeoff, that's the hanging fruit. Hyderabad has a different kind of a milieu. This place has, of course, the advantage of space center, SARC, and also the legacy of Sarabhai, and then the in-space being in place. And so also the other place. So then you graduate to the others, because if you start up from a more difficult venture, then you possibly lose the tempo and the interest generated also, because it's entirely a wholesome ecosystem. And therefore, we are in a big way in space. We were just a dismal economy till about 10 years back, or even 5 years back, because as I said, now we are open to private sector. Only 5 years back, we opened the space to private sector. I'm glad that you are doing so much work even with the space startups. And all these have been born in the last half a decade. And we are now $8 billion US and in space, and we hope to be going 5 times high to 40, 45 in the next 10 years or so. Biotechnology is another area. Of course, I would not be talking much about it because you are not very much into it. I said you should start from the ecosystem. Later on, maybe we will graduate to that also. But some of the places I find in North India have a beautiful ecosystem for biotechnology. Because there also we were just 50 startups in biotechnology in 2014. Today we are 11,000. And bioeconomy was just 10 billion. And now we are 167 or 70 billion. So that, of course, we'll take up later as far as Ahmedabad is concerned. When I speak at a platform in Chandigarh or Palampur, we have a beautiful ecosystem of the Himalayas. So we have started looking at the areas which were not looked adequately by the earlier governments. The Himalayas, the oceans. That's again, I'm not talking about it because I'll talk about it when I'm at Chennai. We have 11,000 kilometer long coastal area and a whole lot of wealth lying inside. We have started venturing into that as well. So, but I think the basic mantra is to break the silos, to integrate the public, private, the non-government. I would not even say private because many of the non-government entities are not essentially private. They could be trusts, they could be philanthropists, though that culture is yet to come. And from that point of view also, the Department of Science and Technology has taken a number of innovative, rather I would say courageous decisions, like this RDI fund, which was announced only about 2 months back, 1 lakh crore. I think one of the unique, usually the governments are not expected to fund the private players. This is the other way around. The private player is expected. So living in Gujarat, you know better than me. But here the government is coming and asking you, if you have risen to that T4 level, at the technology level 4 or so, and not essentially for the immediate startups, but then to enable you or to accelerate you to take off. It's the government which is coming forward, so with the hope that finally you will take over. And of course, the NRF fund, which is also going to be part of the scheme of things that is being thought to be developed by you. And this Nidhi again was started by this government, a network of incubators integrating all these institutes which were just now shown in the film. And therefore, I think most importantly, a greater industry outreach. So next time when we have a meet like this, we could have representatives from all the stakeholders. And for startups also, because when we started this industry, RDI fund for a certain level of industry partners, the common complaint from the youngsters came that what about us, the startups? So earlier on through CSIR, of course, we are providing them funds, but we had kept the condition that they should be there around for 3 years before we give them some kind of financial support, just to make sure, so that I convince myself and they convince also that they are going to stay there, not there as, you know, as a stopgap arrangement. But then, as I said, this government has been very liberal, very courageous. Only last week, we did away with that condition also. We said, let even a new beginner be eligible to take loans from us, and then we have to take some risk, and also we can gauge from the kind of commitment and the conviction that he has. And so I think what is important is also that we do some kind of an industry mapping and see what is required by the industry, and then also in the overall context of the nation's requirement. And to that extent, I think among the few institutes, IIM Ahmedabad is the one which could take a lead and also develop cues for others to follow. So having said that, I think I'll wind up here and try to listen to you for another 10 minutes and then respond accordingly. That's, I think, a better way of thinking, especially because I'm going to many of the universities and colleges, almost 3 or 4 places I go. This thankfully is an audience of relatively senior gentry. But the other day I was in a college, women college, and the lady anchor said, "Sir, will you not like to speak more?" I said, "No, I will not like to be the subject of your dining table jokes." So better you talk and we'll respond accordingly, so that I too go back wiser.
Just a suggestion in terms of this entire ecosystem I've had the good fortune of sort of being exposed to it across many countries for many decades. One of the big challenges is that often our academic curriculum don't keep up with technology. I think if you can actually earmark that specific academic institutions are the leaders in, say, quantum or in any specific field, allow them to drive the curriculum. Don't have a centralized system which gets sort of updated after 5 years and 10 years. I think if you allow specific leaders, specific institutions, I think you will be more current, more up to date. I think the second thing is that I think the government's got to make special initiatives, task force, whatever, to bring the technology leaders in every core technology to come and invest in India. If you don't have an ecosystem of the technology actually existing in India, it's very tough for R&D or science or startups to operate standalone without that kind of integration and interface. Thank you.
No, I think we've already started working in this direction the last 10 years. All the 3 points made by you, because I thought it will be slightly out of context and I didn't want to go on and on. I think the very first major initiative is the National Education Policy 2020, because you are no longer prisoner of the curriculum. Earlier on, what we did a huge injustice to our youngsters. The parents wanted him to be a doctor for what? To make good money. Not for any other reason. वो तो बाहर सुनाने के लिए है कि देश समाज की सेवा, बीमार की सेवा. But the idea behind every parent was कि अच्छा बंगला बनाए, अहमदाबाद में शिफ्ट हो जाए वहाँ से. But once that didn't happen, no, because I'm also a grounded worker, so I've started from scratch. Once that did not happen, the child could not manage his admission in medical school. Then both the parents and the child were prisoners. Neither father had the inclination of allowing him to carry on, neither the son, but he has no option but to do his graduation in either botany or zoology. Not that I mean you did that. And then do MSc, same subjects. Now, after class 12, you can change over. I was in Chennai the other day with the earliest adapters of NEP 2020, and because I keep asking for my own understanding, so I asked a teacher there in one of the leading women colleges. I said, how do you feel? She said, I feel I'm enjoying more than the students, because I am a teacher of literature and I get students from biotechnology class. So after class 12, if you are not, your plans of becoming a doctor are not succeeded, you can change over to biotechnology, you can change over to mathematics. So that is one step we have taken in that direction. The second, of course, I agree with you. Each institution, like the earlier 5 IITs, also had made a mark, one good in civil engineering. So that will happen now, because since we have started this national quantum mission, we have identified 3 or 4 institutions also through the Department of Science and Technology. And thirdly, the foreign investment. That is why we have opened up even the nuclear sector, which was the most dreaded sector as far as private participation is concerned, to the private, and we have allowed the foreign investment. And I think I agree with you, unless we have a good amount of investment, because most of the success stories by other countries have not depended on the government sources. And whichever the political party, whichever the political dispensation, government can't be providing all the funds. And to have a larger pool, we need to have more and more of investment, not only domestically, even from outside.
So,
We'll take a question from the gentleman on the right here, please.
yeah.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. My question to you is that as a Minister of Science and Technology, what advice do you have for a 19-year-old boy who is willing to make a change and solve problems in India? Thank you.
No, I think that is a very romantic idea, which even I had when I was 19. कि समाज को बदल डालेंगे. But by the time you grow 29, it is different. So what is most important is that we do research on all these subjects given to us. We don't do research on ourselves. So first of all, you have to understand your own capabilities, your own capacities, and also your incapacities. Like for example, when every youngster goes to Mumbai, because हर माँ अपने बेटे को कहती है तेरे से ऐसा खूबसूरत लाल कहीं नहीं. So he feels that I am best to become a hero. Only there he goes and realizes, no, I can't be in that slot. फिर कोई कहता है कहानी लिखना शुरू करो, he becomes a script writer. कोई कहता है कुछ और करो, कैमरा शुरू, तो वो जब कुछ नहीं होता हो सकता है वहाँ कैंटीन ही खोल ले. So that is very important. Yes, that's a very good idea. That's your nationalistic commitment. But what am I meant for? What is best that I can do? This NEP 2020 also is one option which gives you opportunity, because as you grow, your aptitudes also change and grow. By the time you are maybe out of your class 12, because that is a formative 9 to 12. That's why in the UST also we have now started Vigyan Jyoti for class 9 to class 12 girls, a supporting mechanism. We have also started mentorship. We've already picked up some of the colleges for that, so that the child is made to realize what he's actually meant for. In spite of his best intentions, he may not be able to understand. So if a proper mentor is there who understands the child also is made to learn how to understand his own capabilities. And sometimes even the parents undo what has been taught, not out of very bad intention, because they are not having that exposure. तो धीरे धीरे आपको लग रहा है कि मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ. हो सकता है अब जब आपको जैसे आज अच्छा लग रहा है कहना, जब आप गंभीरता से सोचें तो आपको लगे कि सबसे पहले तो मुझे ये करना है कि मुझे IIM अहमदाबाद छोड़ना. जो मैं करना चाह रहा हूँ राष्ट्र की सेवा में, वो यहाँ होके नहीं हो सकता है लेखन करके होता हो, किसी साहित्य के संस्थान में जाऊँ. So that is very important.
If sir permits, can we take one last question?
Sir, I would like to go. Sir, China exports 3.5 trillion worth of goods, which is 8 times India's exports, which is just $437 billion. Their R&D spend is 20 times as ours. CSIR, the largest organization, falls under you, sir. But 95% of MSMEs have never accessed them. I also myself run an MSME, although passed from this institute, but I happen to join my dad's business. As an MSME, we can't navigate them. China put scientists inside factory clusters. Can India flip the model? Instead of we standing in queue in Delhi, can those CSIR come to our clusters in Panipat, Tripur, Morbi for
No, I got your point. Now, taking up the last point first, we are already reaching out. You no longer, and why you feel you are not able to make use of those options is because the mindset has not changed. Everything is now available on portals. You don't have to go anywhere. Everything is online, even for MSMEs. Then secondly, yes, as far as the investment is concerned, as I said, we don't have to depend entirely on the government. About the China, it's not my mandate to comment, because let the External Affairs Minister talk about it. But there are many other things about China which you may not like to follow. I've just now, last week, the book has come out, Bottle Breakneck, on how China overtook America in the last 30 years. And you see the strategies. I'm sure nobody in India would like that to happen. So that apart, but we have to emulate good things, as you rightly mentioned. So I think the investment part has to also cultivate non-government sources. And reaching out, I agree with you. We are already doing it with the kind of now information tools that we have. We are already making it more and more, because each one of us is actually getting used to it. It's a new experience for all. But we have increased our outreach.
Thank you, sir, for that very inspiring and thought-provoking address. Okay, we will take one last question, please. The gentleman in the third row.
I can hear you.
Yes, I'm Balarama Varanasi. For MSME clusters, like we give like 3 crores like physical infrastructure. If you give like a hybrid global enterprise infrastructure, I can connect this cluster to the counterparts abroad. And also, if you look at, like a similar to national education policy, if you create a national executive education policy, like most of us, we are like got only worker education and outsourcing industry. We learnt all American technologies and all. We are unable to upgrade into service venture partners. We need a damn career advancement support in the alumni association. Like in America, in the bachelors, like all orientation.
I got your point.
Yes.
I think actually that we are not directly dealing with it. It's a domain of the education ministry, but I took up this subject once otherwise informally. I get your point. That is one thought that could be brought
Same
into the
investment, multiple effort we can.
Not only that,
give
you could also suggest that just as you have exit entry policy for students, you could have that for teachers.
Yes.
Isn't it? In other words, but I'm not there to respond to that because I don't want to make an out-of-turn statement that I'm talking only as a teacher. But yes, we will put up this input to the Ministry of Education.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so my question is that what are the expectations of Honourable Prime Minister from this field of science and technology and about its future?
No, I think all of us agree that any future growth is going to be entirely technology driven. Everybody realizes that, but yes, what advantage we have with this Prime Minister is that he is very supportive. He has given science technology highest priority. Not a single Independence Day address has happened in the last 12 years ever since he's been in New Delhi, where he did not mention a technology project or a technology venture or did not make an important technology announcement. Even this year, from the ramparts of Red Fort, he said we have a policy called BioE3, डेडिकेटेड टू बायोटेक्नोलॉजी. मैं आह्वान करता हूँ युवाओं से कि आओ इसका लाभ उठाओ. ऐसा कहाँ होता था? तो लाल किले से कितने सारे लोगों को समझ नहीं आएगा. बट वन एडवांटेज इज दैट व्हेन मोदी जी स्पीक्स इट क्रिएट्स अवेयरनेस ऑल्सो. सो पॉसिबली what the disadvantage that we had of an enabling support from the political dispensation is now happening. And that is because the government's approach is very realistic. So technology is going to be the driving force for everything.
So I just wanted to point one thing. I think currently all the startups that you see in the country are coming out of the undergraduate students, whether it's IITs or BITS Pilani or any other institution. I think if we want to strengthen the deep tech ecosystem, we need to make our PhD programs more attractive. Less than 5% of students from these elite institutions are actually pursuing PhD, not even 1% for that matter.
I agree with you. I think that is the realization which motivated us, to have this NRF, because most of the grants were availed by IITs and bigger institutions because they lived up to that parameter. So we have a democratization of funding. Of course, now NRF has not become fully functional. The first lot is now going to open up next few months. Then this change will happen. So we have already started moving in that direction. For deep tech also, this 3-year condition which I was talking was actually kept for the deep techs. So we have now done away with. And as such, the startups, that is also a myth. We possibly, because the startup concept landed in Bangalore, and we thought it was IT. So that happened. But for India, our exclusive domain is agriculture. We have very successful agriculture startups who have turned into entrepreneurs, making millions and millions, many of them not even graduates. Like CSIR's Purple Revolution, the Aroma Mission, Lavender startups, many of them not even graduates. So you have to have a NAP. So the digital literacy is not necessarily linked, the technology literacy with the academic qualification. But I agree with you, this disparity of resource availability among the institutions was often being brought to notice. And we are trying to work on this. I think in 1 or 2 years, we'll be able to make it more uniform.
My specific suggestion as a minister, which you can do is, make the PhD programs attractive by increasing the stipends, for example. At 40,000 rupees, no one is going to do a PhD, spend 4 years or 5 years in doing a PhD right now. Time has come to revise
we can think on that. We can also, now we have started industry connected PhDs also, so we can, link it that way also, so that it becomes more of a vocational oriented PhD. Earlier on, most of the PhDs looked for a teaching job, so it's no longer so. I agree with you.
कुछ दिन पहले RDI outreach के लिए हम बॉम्बे में मिले थे. So this is the right place to suggest this suggestion. Deep tech ecosystem इंडिया में जो इवॉल्व हो रहा है, तो उसके साथ साथ जो वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट के जो माइंडसेट है, तो अभी डीप टेक के लिए इतने सस्टेनेबल नहीं है. तो आई सजेस्ट दैट IIM Ahmedabad is the best place to teach some of the 10 to 20 hours kind of template to our established venture capitalists before they are selected to second level fund manager in RDI fund.
ये तो डायरेक्टर साहब के लिए। अब ऐसा है कि बाहर निकलते हुए मैं कान में सिफारिश कर दूंगा आपको।
क्योंकि my co-founder is a former head of physics department, and we have meeting with some of the established name, and they are asking about what is the
I
revenue.
agree with you। ये जो वो जब बच्चे मेरे पास बहुत से आए, बोले साहब आपने ये जो RDI फंड दिया है तो साथ में T4 कर दिया, हम D-Tech हमारा कब होगा? तो एक्चुअली बिसाइड्स ऑफ कोर्स द डायरेक्टर इज वेरी काइंड, वो तो अलग बात, लेकिन देयर इज अ होल इकोसिस्टम फॉर द बिगिनर्स ऑल्सो। देयर आर प्रोविजंस। अगर टाइम होगा हमारे बाद में आपको ये बता भी देंगे। आपने है आपका सेशन वगैरह क्या? आज नहीं होगा है? अच्छा, तो उसमें हमारा एक बड़ा इकोसिस्टम है, सबके लिए कहीं ना कहीं से मिल सकता है। इसीलिए जैसे स्टार्टअप्स के लिए जो हमारी बहुत सारे इसी में है, आपके वुमेन के लिए अलग है, ट्राइबल्स के लिए अलग है, आपकी क्या निधि स्कीम में भी बहुत कुछ है, इस तरह से बहुत सारे पर्स है फॉर योर यूनिवर्सिटीज़, तो वहाँ से आप लो। और अब तो हमने इसीलिए आउट ऑफ जस्ट टू गिव देम कॉन्फिडेंस उन्हें वो कंडीशन निकाल दी कि 3 साल सस्टेन करो फिर आपको फंड मिलेगा स्टार्टअप से, डीप टेक के। तो वहाँ तक पहुँचो यूजिंग अदर रिसोर्सेज, और फिर जब वहाँ पहुँच गए तो फिर RDI की भी एलिजिबिलिटी बन जाओ। और अगर डायरेक्टर साहब कर दें तो सोने पे सुहागा है।
In the interest of time, I'm sorry, we cannot take any more questions right now. I now request Priyanka Chopra, the CEO and Managing Partner of IIMA Ventures, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you for being a very engaged audience. Thank you, Honourable Minister of Science and Technology, Shri Jitendra Singh ji, and thank you, Professor Bhasker. Professor Bhasker, your leadership has been instrumental in shaping IIMA Ventures over the past few years. You've continually encouraged us to think beyond programs and portfolios and anchor our work in the larger purpose of nation building. You've reminded us time and time again that management discipline is as important as deep technical expertise in building companies of enduring significance. Just as IIM Ahmedabad has shaped some of the finest management talent in the country, under your leadership, we hope to play the same role for nurturing the next generation of deep tech entrepreneurs. Honourable Minister Shri Jitendra Singh ji, we are deeply grateful to you for coming all the way from Delhi just for us, for inspiring us with your very thoughtful address, and for engaging with members of our audience. Your reminder that institutions shape nations and that deep science and innovation now sit at the heart of India's future really struck a chord with a lot of us. The launch of translation endeavors and the dedication of the DST-supported Nidhi Center of Excellence at IIM Ahmedabad feels like a very meaningful step in that direction. It will allow us to help take ideas from labs to real-world impact. We hope to co-create venture funds, deep tech accelerators, and venture studios with you. We are deeply grateful to the Department of Science and Technology for its sustained partnership through the years. Through the DST Nidhi program, we have not only been enabled to, but also demonstrated our record of translating deep tech innovations into scalable ventures. In fact, we have leveraged the DST seed support 30 times the original amount in private capital. And with the RDI fund, we hope to scale this impact much further. As one of India's leading entrepreneurship platforms anchored at the country's finest business school, we've not only nurtured startups, but we've also built the enablers of startups, multiple incubators and venture funds across the country. We take very seriously our role of injecting management discipline into deep tech innovations and helping them transform into scalable businesses, no matter where they are germinated. Be that Agnikul at IIT Madras, IdeaForge at IIT Bombay, PeerSite at InSpace, or NAB the State ISC. And therefore, your guidance of tapping into ecosystems and deep collaboration resonates very deeply with us, and we will carry this work forward in our work at IIMA Ventures. Once again, Professor Bhasker and Honourable Minister, thank you so much for your leadership, your encouragement, and your support. Thank you to all our guests for being a part of this historic moment for us. We look forward to continuing the conversations that began here today.